New data out showing just how severe the mental health crisis is among young Americans.
The U.S. Surgeon General has issued a new advisory on a growing youth mental health crisis, warning that depression and anxiety in young people have doubled worldwide during the pandemic.
Social media is really a key thing.
They are having to deal with a technology that is rapidly evolving.
The more you use it, the more depressed you are.
These are some incredibly concerning trends that we're seeing in the trends of adolescent mental health.
Adolescents are not getting the appropriate help that really sets them up for a lifetime of problem.
The intention of the Propaedeutic year is really to take a step back from the culture and to notice how the culture influences us, both for good and for ill. And so we do things like we engage in a lot of fasting from technology. We give up our cell phones and computers, fasting from commerce, so I'm not buying things that I think will make me happy, and fasting from media. When we do that, we experience this tremendous gift of time. So we do a lot of reflecting on how do I use my time? What is that time even for? How do I value that? Am I valuing that? And so we have a lot of silent time. Here we have to kind of confront what comes up in the silence. And especially what ends up coming up is, what is my relationship to Jesus like? What is my calling in the world?
Often we don't get the chance to do this. Just a whole year spent with the Lord, with this tight-knit community. We get to start the day off with adoration every single day. We pray the rosary daily. We do the Liturgy of the Hours together.
Coming from the auto industry is very hectic, really hard to make time for God in your day-to-day life. Really what I'm looking forward to the most is the ability to sit down and just be with God for a whole year, learning and growing in community, but really taking that step away from society that's not always the healthiest for our souls and actually blossoming into the man that I should be as a Catholic.
The other thing I'm really looking forward to is not having my phone. I'm just excited to not be part of everything that's going on out there.
When I have my phone and I have social media and YouTube to distract me, then if the Lord tries to bring up something that I'm scared to go there, it's easy to just run to those things.
It kind of goes both ways. I'm really looking forward to not having it, but I'm also kind of nervous. It's kind of just my security blanket.
I like to stay in the news and I like to stay up to date. So it's been kind of challenging already, is taking a step away from the rapid news cycle or just being in the know of everything. Fixing my eyes squarely on the Lord is going to purify a lot of those wounds that are underneath and underlying that kind of promote me to want to be in the know of everything.
If this last week has been any indication of what the next year is going to be like, it's probably going to be the best year of my life.
I think what surprised me most so far is how much more alive and able to remain in the present moment I've been able to be. I think without the distraction of technology, it's just really allowed me to focus better and to be more present to other people.
For certain, it's really been the chance to delve deep into human formation. I was kind of shocked to see the opportunity I had to focus on eating better and to work out, and then also just to interact with different people at the apostolate to continue to grow and being comfortable with other people.
There's such a different variety of ages and years in the seminary. My first year, I'm 31. The youngest is 20. And we become best friends.
Everybody's wonderful. The strength you get from each other is extremely impactful in the spiritual life.
Merry Christmas from the Propaedeudes. Praying for you this Christmas season, and have a happy new year. Merry Christmas!
Once we get to Christmas time and we have the joyful celebration of Christmas, the very next thing we do is the January poverty immersion. And the stuff that we've been doing over the course of that first semester is really kind of crystallized in the poverty immersion. So what happens here is the guys go out in groups of 2 or 3 to a few different cities that they're not familiar with. During that time, they're working with the poor, but they're also getting in touch with their own poverty, because I send them out with a Greyhound bus ticket And really, no credit card, no cell phone, no technology, not really communication with their normal support group or anything like that. What do I turn to help me with that when I'm not turning to my bank account or to my technology or to my normal support structure? The only one left is Christ.
During the poverty immersion, I came to really understand God's providence and the way He's going to go out of His way to help whenever there's an issue. The big thing was the first day we left when our bus broke down, we got stranded in Pittsburgh overnight. It was one problem after another. It took us 36 hours to get to Washington, D.C., and every single issue we ran into just fell down in front of us with no explanation other than God wanted this to happen.
Whenever we would go out and do service, I wasn't going at it with the mentality of, all right, I've got something that I need to give you. I was going at it with the mentality of, I want to meet Jesus today.
I was just really able to see and just hear firsthand from the homeless and from the hurting, the struggles that they went through. And a lot of the struggles weren't far off from my struggles or weren't far off from struggles of people that I know.
As I look to Christ this year, I realized that He is far more kind to me than I am to myself.
I'd say that I had a very strong desire to be liked.
Before I walked in, I had a lot of different lenses.
I saw myself as a mechanic, an outdoorsman, a son and a brother, but I didn't necessarily fully understand what it meant to be a son of the Father.
I've really been leaning into like St. Therese as being a small child. So one of the things she says is to remain small is to recognize our nothingness. But the beauty about recognizing our nothingness is that we get everything from our Heavenly Father. All the great gifts, all the grace comes from Him. I have to do nothing for it. So I don't have to reach out and do something and grasp at like who I am. I receive my identity from the Father.
I've been playfully referring to the Camino pilgrimage we're going to do this summer as the final exam of the Propaedeutic year. Of course, there aren't any exams this year, but I am really hoping that this will be something that kind of crystallizes the whole experience for them and sort of recapitulates all the things they've been learning this year. So we had the Technology, Media, and Commerce fast. When we go on the Camino, that fast will be over. But now, how are you going to use your phone? How are you going to use your money? Will you fall back into the same habits of like grasping at things a lot? Or will you be able to use these things as tools for the glory of the kingdom? We had the poverty immersion where we sent them out to places they were unfamiliar with, where they had to rely on the Lord a little bit more and trust in Him. Now we're going to be in a different country, a different language, meeting all kinds of different people along the way. How are you going to rely on the Lord there? How will you encounter Him in those experiences? We had the 8-day silent Ignatian retreat. And on the Camino, we'll be hiking for 6 to 8 hours a day, and we'll be encountering a lot of people along the way, but there will also be a lot of silent time. And what will you do with that? Will you be tempted to put your earbuds in and listen to something else, or can we hang out with the Lord a little bit in that time and listen for what the Spirit is saying? And then finally in Lent, we had the Healing the Whole Person retreat, and we're just beginning to unpack that into the Easter season and now into Pentecost when we go on the Camino. So what's the ongoing healing that the Lord wants to do in your heart? To hear all of those things. So I'm really hoping that this Camino experience will be a great transition, reliving and kind of savoring all the things of the Propaedeutic year and really preparing our hearts for the walk into discipleship that we're preparing for next.
The next stage of the Propaedeutic year will be hiking El Camino de Santiago in Spain. It's a 500-mile hike, and it's a pilgrimage that pilgrims have gone on for centuries. Following the way of St. James and ending in Santiago, and specifically at Santiago de Compostela. I had never heard of the Camino until just a couple years ago when a couple of my friends went on it.
When I told my brothers and my dad about it, they were at first supportive of me, but they're also like, how on earth could anyone possibly do that?
The group has been really kind of preparing from the start of the year. We initially started with just kind of going on hikes on Fridays, which is nothing too stressful. We just kind of went with nothing on our backs. And then as time progressed, we started to do 3-mile hikes with our backpacks on, 6-mile hikes with our backpacks on, 9-mile hikes with our backpacks on, and then 12, and then finally 15. To really get us into the groove of walking roughly about 15 miles every single day.
We don't have to pack a whole lot because we're making a lot of stops along the route, but you need a good set of clothes, secondary set, number of pairs of socks because your feet will wear out. I decided to pack a pretty big first aid kit. Have experience as a Boy Scout with first aid, bringing that to help my brothers out along the way, water bottle, Got to have your prayer journal, a couple prayer books, and I'm bringing a Stations of the Cross guide to help me kind of walk with Christ throughout that process.
It's going to be a great test of what we've accomplished this year. One of the major points of the Propaedeutic year is helping us get firmly rooted in our identity as beloved son and brother. Thus, we're going to be sent out on pilgrimage, and we're going to have to radically trust in the Father's will and the Father's care for us.
It's a journey with Christ. You're walking every day, get up nice and early, and you start your day with the Lord, and you continue your day with the Lord throughout all of it.
The Camino itself is going to be a great microcosm of the faith and of the spiritual journey that we all walk, because we are a pilgrim people. We're not here, we're not at the end, we're not at heaven yet, but our whole life is spent walking towards Christ and following him and seeking him. That's what the Camino is going to be able to do for us in a really beautiful and individual way, is reveal to us more and more that we haven't made it yet. We haven't made it to heaven. We haven't made it to Santiago, but we're walking there. We're pursuing the Lord, and that each day we're coming closer and closer to our goal, which is ultimately intimacy with Christ.
This is a great opportunity for the next 30 to 40 days to walk the Camino looking to Christ and just allowing him in, allowing him to get in my way, allowing him to put people in my life to do what he wants to do for them on a huge scale like we've never seen before throughout this entire year, and all these little things we've done, just allowing the Spirit to work.
Well, as we make our way towards the end of this first Propaedeutic year, we just got back from the Camino a few days ago, and my heart is filled with gratitude, especially for all the growth that I've seen in the guys over this year. But the Camino was a really special experience for me too, walking this with them. As the Propaedeutic director, I've been mapping everything out for them. It's kind of been a stressful year for me, as it's been a kind of a more taking a step back year for all of them. The Camino was a chance for me to really immerse myself in the Propaedeutic experience. And the wonderful time of silence, it felt like 5 different retreats for me along the way, honestly. The quiet time at hiking with the Lord along the way, delving deeper into my own spiritual life, into my own healing. Tons of graces on this trip that we were just on together. And so I'm just really grateful for all the growth that I've seen in my guys, and for all the growth that the Lord is still bringing about in me as well. This Propaedeutic year has been a blessing for us all, I think.
Camino, in retrospect to the whole Propaedeutic year, really brings out, at least in my experience, being my authentic self.
I was actually struck as I was walking the Camino how many conversations I had with different people who were, I'd be walking with them and talking for a little bit, and they'd be saying things like, oh, it's so good to be away from my phone and just like get out in the silence and in nature and, experience, like it was them experiencing what's coming up in their hearts. And I'm kind of thinking as they're telling me this, like, that sounds an awful lot like what I've been doing for this entire year.
The Camino just ties the whole Propaedeutic year together. All year we've been focusing on stepping away from the technology, away from the distractions of life, and into the silence, confronting those things that we've distracted ourselves from for years. And that's all the Camino has been. So many people we were talking to, they were talking about all of these things that are coming up in the silence. It was such a gift that not only have we been able to do that, we were able to walk with them as they were doing it for the first time.
I look to Christ, really, every hike, especially. No matter how long the hikes were, I would say the last 2 miles would always be challenging.
Some days the hikes felt pretty easy, and it was just like, oh, this is pretty nice, and I'm meeting cool people, and I'm walking in Spain, this is great. And then there were other days that really were pretty tough, and it was very much a mental and spiritual battle to be able to get through.
The pain in the feet and the legs going downhill. Literally, the Lord told me, look up, and I straightened my back. It's just a completely tremendous metaphor of hiking the Camino, to continually look up, to continually look to Christ.
The culminating part of the Camino de Santiago is the Cathedral of Santiago. The sense of fulfillment when I could see just the tips of the 2 towers of the cathedral. It was like every ounce of tiredness left my body in a split second. I can't describe it other than just like joy bubbling up.
In the silence of the Camino, it really became clear how little we actually need in this world. God is there. And as soon as we back away from all this other stuff and we allow that silence in, we can finally hear him. We can see him acting, meeting our needs through his providence. We can see him in the conversations we're having. if we just take the time to allow it. And the Camino has really provided a really nice opportunity in the world outside of the seminary to experience that in real time.
It's also a beautiful metaphor, the Camino, for life in general. We are all on the journey, the pilgrimage of life to the kingdom of heaven. And you're going to get blisters along the way. You're going to have to suffer. There are going to be times like that. But the beautiful thing is what you do with that suffering, and the beautiful ways that you're able to walk with the Lord and united to Him and His cross. And that's where I see the Camino as both a metaphor for the year, but also throughout life.
I mean, how do you describe the grace of God? This year has given me the opportunity to begin to live a life as a man fully alive. Before this year, I spent 2 years in the normal college program at Borromeo, and they were very good for my faith, helped me grow with God. But this year has been so beneficial because it's given me the chance to slow down and to really go with the Lord deep into my own heart, into all my pain, into all my shame, into all my woundedness, and experience His loving gaze there, experience just the healing that the Lord wants for me. I'm reminded of what Pope John Paul II said when he said that Christ fully reveals man to himself. It's only by me looking at Christ, it's only by me looking to the cross and looking to the resurrection that I'm able to find who I truly am. And that's something that I think I've had sort of an intellectual knowledge of for a while, but by the grace of God, it's beginning deeper and deeper to sink its way into my heart. I trust that in the future He's gonna keep laying that path out for me, and I don't need to rush it. I don't need to stress myself out. I don't need to have all the answers right away. I just need to sit in the silence with the Lord and let myself be loved by Him.